Good evening and welcome once again to another program of Issues in the News, where we discuss the important events that would have taken place in our country over the past week or so. And is normally the case in Guyana, in any given week, there are a number of issues important enough and worthy of discussions. This week is no different. I want to begin, as I normally would do, by welcoming all of our viewers who are joining us by the thousands on television from Mahaica to West Coast Berbice in region number 5, and then across the Berbice River. I want to welcome all of you who are joining us on the east bank of the Berbice River all the way to New Amsterdam, and then, of course, from New Amsterdam all the way across the Quarantine Coast to Molson Creek. Welcome, welcome to all of you who are joining us on television in region number 6. I want also to welcome all of you who are joining us on Freedom Radio from Rob Street, Georgetown. Good evening. And last but not least, I want to welcome those of you who are joining us, all my friends and followers who are joining us on Facebook Live right across the length and breadth of Guyana, the Caribbean, North America, Europe, and further afield. Welcome to another program of Issues in the News. As I said, I want this program to be interactive, so I am going to encourage you to share this program. Press that share button on your phone, on your television, on your computer, so that those who are on your page and who are on your account will also be part of our discussion. So please press that share button so that as many persons as possible will be engaged in tonight's discussion. Share this program, and I want to take this opportunity to welcome Chandrauti Atwaru Kamash, Nalini Prasad from Toronto, Savi Singh, Raji Maharaj, Savitri Warnock, Camellia Singh from Toronto, Ganeshwar Narayan Sami, Sita Singh, Rajendra Mahes from New York, Geeta Mohan, Mark Wilson, good night, Mark. And I'm coming to Brooklyn. Amorel Madramutu from California, Sharon Sahida Khan from Essequibo, Parvati Kalawan from Toronto, Janet Singh, welcome, welcome, Rohan Singh, and so many of you. Ivorine Ramcharan from New Jersey, welcome to another program of Issues in the News. Long Island is in the house, Philadelphia is in the house, Suriname has joined us, Belize has joined us, so the audience is wide and large. Canada is joining us, and so many of you. So welcome once again to another program of Issues in the News, and I will interact with you as I continue with the program. Please send me a message, post a note or some question if you wish me to address, and I will address it. Montreal, Canada is here, and so many of you. Thank you very much. But let's get on with the program. So last night we had a very packed and fruitful agenda in the National Assembly, and of course in the absence of the opposition, it went unusually smoothly. We dispensed with all the important business that we had planned to dispose of. The country's welfare and the people's welfare must continue to be advanced, and our government will not be affected or be stymied by boycotts of the opposition or by any shenaniganism exhibited by the opposition. We were elected with a mandate to govern, and we will govern in the interest of all the people of our country. If the opposition wants to come on board and play the important role that they are supposed to play, well, then it's a matter for them, but we can't force them to discharge their responsibilities. We dealt with important pieces of legislation. For example, the industrial hemp bill. That's a very, very important piece of legislation, crucial to the creation of jobs, crucial to the expansion of our economic base, crucial for the construction of a new and emerging crop in the agro sector, and crucial to boost our environmental credentials. That bill will lay the foundation for a completely new industry to be created in Guyana, cultivation and manufacture of industrial hemp. Great interests have been shown both by Guyanese as well as overseas investors in this sector, and hosts of persons and companies have been anxiously awaiting the enactment of that bill. Well, the bill has been enacted and it will soon be assented to by the president, and will become law. And once it becomes law, then the government will swiftly move to implement the provisions of the bill, establish the governance structure created by the bill, so that the provisions of the law can come into force and be activated, so that we can begin a blossoming industrial hemp industry in our country. As I said, hemp is one of the most sought after products in the world today. It can be used to build so many different things, and it can be used for so many variety of purposes, and its demand is heavy on the world market. I want to emphasize, as I did last night, industrial hemp is not marijuana, it is not ganja, though they are related. The TCL level is different, and the licensing arrangements and the governance structure which the bill creates will aggregate to ensure that there is strong oversight to avoid persons using hemp as a disguise to cultivate marijuana. And that is why, if the governance structure is carefully examined, you would see the type of personnel that will be engaged statutorily and will be empowered by the law to monitor, to oversight, and to preside over this very crucial and new industry that we are launching in Guyana. We also passed the Mental Health Promotion Bill. And as I said last night, it's one of the most modern pieces of legislation of its type in this hemisphere. I had said from the beginning that we are going to transform the legislative landscape of our country so that we have a modern legal infrastructure upon which we can build a modern Guyana. Everything begins with the law being its foundation, and that is why we are aggressively pursuing a legislative agenda to build a modern legal foundation upon which the new modern Guyana can be constructed. Healthcare is of paramount importance to our government. Our people's health and our people's welfare are of utmost importance to our government. And that is why so much money, so much investments, and so much energy is expended in the public health sector of our country, all intended and designed to ensure that our people get the best possible health care. And that's why so many hospitals, medical institutions, and other healthcare facilities are being constructed across our country. Mental health facilities and mental health are very much part and parcel of our public health program, and we needed a mental health bill, a modern one. The one that we have is over 130 years old and therefore is not only archaic and anachronistic, but completely useless having regard to the advancements that have been made in medical science and technology. So that was a must, and we have that bill now, and that bill will create a very modern medical health infrastructure in relation to mental health and will put us on a sound and most modern footing in relation to mental health. Last night also, we approved some nearly $44.5 billion in our financial supplemental paper, and that is to augment um, infrastructural and other works in almost every sector of the country: public health, public works, home affairs, security, Amerindian affairs, local government, human services, education, almost every sector. Billions of dollars are in that supplementary paper that will be spent to ensure the developmental trajectory of our country keeps moving in a positive direction, and also to ensure that our people continue to receive the best quality of service, infrastructure, road, water, housing, etc. These can't be achieved without monetary injections. Hence, our presence in the National Assembly and our support for that, for those budgetary allocations. It will be observed that the opposition was absent, as I indicated earlier, but that did not prevent our ministers from providing explanations in relation to the monies that were being requested. We did not have to embark upon those explanations because no one really was asking from the opposition. So what we did is that we got our own members to ask questions, to provide a basis for the ministers to offer explanations and to offer information about the government developmental programs and to inform the public of how the monies that we are seeking in that paper are going to be spent and how many thousands of Guyanese are going to benefit from those monies. So with or without the opposition in the National Assembly, we continue to discharge our responsibilities in a fair, transparent, and accountable manner. And I want to talk a little about the boycott. Apparently, last Tuesday at the rally at Parade Ground, it was announced that there will be a boycott of the National Assembly by the opposition. They said that they were going to boycott it because 8 of their members were suspended. That is what I heard at the rally. That was Tuesday night. Lo and behold, Thursday, they appeared in court attempting to get a judge to suspend their suspension so that they can attend the National Assembly Monday. And their lawyers said that in his application. He argued that there is a sitting of the National Assembly Monday, and this case was coming up Thursday, the Thursday before the Monday, and he was arguing that they be permitted to attend the National Assembly. So, on the one hand, they are puffing their chests and boasting that they are boycotting the National Assembly because of the suspension of their 8 members. But 2 days after, they are in a court desperately trying to get into the National Assembly. So the strategy of these people is indecipherable, and it is replete with inconsistencies. And I heard a few of the suspended members pleading their case on social media platforms. I heard one of them say that it is not him who is being, it is not only him who is being suspended, and he doesn't mind the suspension, but when he is suspended and his colleagues are suspended, it is tens of thousands of Guyanese who are not being represented in the National Assembly. Now, that is a fact. It is true that when they are not present in the National Assembly, they do not represent or they do not present a case for their constituents. Well, one must ask oneself, why? Why were they suspended? Were they suspended without cause? They claim that the people elected them to sit in the National Assembly. That is true. So, 8 of them decided to misbehave. 8 of them decided that the people who elected them to sit in the National Assembly is not important enough for them to conduct themselves with decorum, to conduct themselves with rectitude, to conduct themselves orderly, but to behave like hooligans, to behave like villains, and to behave in a riotous manner. Did the people elect them to behave in that manner? That is what the people send them to the National Assembly to do? I don't think so. With power comes responsibility. So when the people entrust you with a power, that is, a power to represent them, that power comes with its certain responsibilities. There is no part of the civilized world where there are no rules and regulations. At any democratic forum, there is a bundle of rules and regulations regarding conduct. And any person who violates those rules and regulations and misconducts him or herself is liable to be sanctioned by that democratic forum. The National Assembly of Guyana, like every National Assembly across the globe, is no different. Were they suspended last year? No. Were they suspended the year before? No. So they want to create this impression that they did nothing and this suspension just fell out of the sky. Well, it's nothing of that sort. They behave in a grossly disorderly manner. They behave in a horribly disorganized manner. They disrupted the National Assembly. They stole and attempted to steal and broke the mace of the National Assembly. They assaulted a staff of the National Assembly, and for that conduct, they were suspended as they are entitled to be. So there is nothing wrong with the suspension. And that takes care of 8 of them. So 8 of them did not represent their constituencies or their constituents. Well, what about the rest? Who stopped the rest from attending? I don't know what kind of logic is that. I thought that if 8 of them were suspended, that the others would be most anxious to attend the National Assembly so that they can work a little harder to provide the representation to their constituents would have been deprived of the representation of the eighth members who were suspended. But lo and behold, they took a position that all of them will deny their constituents representation. Well, I don't know what type of logic is that. But that is what we are dealing with. I'm not making this thing up. If eight were denied the right to represent their constituency, and if their constituency were deprived of eight of their elected representatives, is it the best thing for the remaining elected representatives to boycott the remaining or all the constituents? Well, that is the type of logic that informed their policies in the government. That is the type of logic that characterizes their level of competence. And that is why they can't get anything right. And they continue with this wrong and strong attitude. And that is what is amazing. So they misbehave, they broke the mace, they behave in a disorderly manner, they attempted to abuse the process of the parliament. They brought, by their behavior, the proceedings of the parliament into disrepute. By their conduct, voluntarily done, and they take the parliament to court. They are taking the government to court. And it is an amazing thing. And when they are sanctioned, they cry foul. They are the victim. It is the same thing that they did during the elections. They attempted to steal the elections. And when they did not get through, and they were caught red-handed, suddenly the government stole the elections. And they have been transformed into the victim. And that is their modus operandi throughout, in everything that they do. So, they did not elect an opposition leader, and His Excellency the President had to appoint a police commissioner because the person who was performing the functions of commissioner of police proceeded on leave. They did not have an opposition leader. The president is required to consult with the leader of the opposition before he can make the appointment. When the president looks around, there is no opposition leader, so the president appoints Mr. Hikin to act as commissioner of police. Lo and behold, they sue the president. Again, not accepting any responsibility for the vacancy which exists in the leader of the opposition office, caused by their internal wrangling and infighting at the level of their political party. They don't accept any responsibility for that, but sues the president and sues the attorney general for not consulting when there was no one to consult. Again, rather than accept responsibility and blame, they become the victim. Again, that shows you how the modus operandi works. And then I heard an amazing thing. We have a case in relation to that which they have filed, suing the Attorney General for breach of the Constitution by the President, contending that because the President violated the relevant provision of the Constitution which required him to consult with a leader of the opposition. They sued the president, though there is nobody to consult. But I heard the leader of the opposition last week Tuesday at parade ground said that he doesn't understand why the president needs to consult with him for an acting appointment in the office of the Commissioner of Police. That he doesn't know who advising the president, that there is no requirement for the president to consult with him for the appointment, for the acting appointment of a Commissioner of Police. And this is a guy who goes to court and sues the president through his chief whip, Christopher Jones, for failing to consult with the leader of the opposition for the acting appointment of Hikin. These people are upside down. The Constitution says very clearly that the president is required to consult with the leader of the opposition, both for an acting appointment for a police commissioner or a substantive appointment. There was no opposition leader, so there was no consultation. The president is sued by Christopher Jones. But Norton, at the parade ground rally, says very clearly that he doesn't understand why the president wants to consult with him for the acting appointment of a police commissioner, because there is no such requirement to consult with the leader of the opposition for the appointment of an acting commissioner of police. Norton said that. I have asked the journalists to clip that thing out and make it public, and you will see for yourself. This guy is out of his league. I don't know. He is clearly batting in a contest for which he's not equipped. He's out of his league, completely out of his league. Anyway, on Thursday coming, on the 11th of August, the Honorable Chief Justice will be ruling on that very consultation matter in relation to the appointment of Mr. Hikin as Acting Commissioner of Police. I hope I get that clip out before Thursday so that people will see the level of ignorance that we are dealing with in this country. Tomorrow also, we will have a continuation of the case filed in relation to the suspension of the 8 members. That case is continuing before Justice Damon Young, where they are trying to suspend their suspension. Well, I don't know how you can suspend something that has already taken place. The suspension has already been imposed, and the penalty is already being implemented. Well, has already been implemented. I don't know how you can suspend something that has happened already. But that is the type of litigation that is being filed. And that is what we have to deal with. Another point that I want to make that illustrates and characterizes the attitude that I'm speaking about is the filing of a case, again by Mr. Norton, against the Attorney General, in which he is challenging the appointment of Patrick Finlay as chairman of the Police Service Commission and the 5 persons who were appointed by at the Integrity Commission by the President, or to the Integrity Commission by the President. Now, Patrick Finlay, along with 4 names, came through a process outlined in the Constitution. They came through what is called the Appointments Committee of the National Assembly. Mr. Norton, political colleagues sit in that committee. They approved the 4 names. The 4 names then were taken to the National Assembly itself and unanimously approved. Norton was present and voted for those 4 names. Those are the 4 names that are sent to the President, and the Constitution says that the President must meaningfully consult with Mr. Norton and choose one from that 4 to be chairman. Mr. Norton, long before the President is involved, was involved in the process of selecting these people, voting for them, approving them, and then they reach the President, the names. And then again the President is required to consult with Mr. Norton. A whole month passed. Several letters were exchanged. We had in-person meetings. All Norton keep asking for is CVs for these people. When we gave him the CVs, we asked him, we said, you need any other information? He said no. That was at the in-person meeting. We issued a joint statement signed by myself and Roysdale Ford. That statement said that Mr. Norton clarified that the information that he requests is the CVs of these people. And when the CVs were given, another 2 weeks, not an objection from Mr. Norton, not a nominee of his own, no reason advanced to say that these people are bad, they are unqualified, they are unsuitable, nothing. When he's invited to the next meeting, he doesn't turn up. He writes a 3-page letter which we receive after the meeting, in which he beats down the President and nominating persons for the Chancellor and Chief Justice position. Those were not positions that are part of this consultation. So what he was supposed to do, he didn't do. He brought in extraneous matters. And when the President proceeded with the appointments, because nothing is coming from him, he sues. That is what that case is about. And he sues all the people appointed in their personal capacity. So we have to go and hire persons, lawyers, to represent all those persons. That is the battle that we have to face every day with these people. That case is now fixed for the 22nd, I believe, or 23rd of this month for decision. 23rd. He didn't advance any name of his own. He didn't give a reason why any of the nominees of the President should not be appointed. And when the President terminated the consultation, because nothing was coming out of it, he was just grandstanding and pamperzetting, and made the appointment, he rushes to court and he sues. So we are going to get rulings in all these matters very shortly, and we will see how we move from there. But it's important that you, the people of Guyana, and those of you who are watching, that you understand the modus operandi of this gang that we are dealing with and this opposition leader. This guy is unprecedented. I've never seen anyone like this. I have attended meetings with President Ramotar and leader of the opposition, Granger. I have attended meetings with consultation meetings. Let me start over. I have attended constitutional consultations meetings with President Granger, with President Ramotar and leader of the opposition, Granger. I have attended similar meetings with President Granger and leader of the opposition, Bharat Jagdeo. And I have attended meetings with leader of the opposition, Norton, and President Dr. Irfan Ali. 4 sets of engagements spanning a period of 2011 to 2022. I have done this over 10 years, and I have never seen this type of behavior from any. The behavior of Mr. Norton is different from any of the players that I had the first-hand opportunity to observe at these consultative engagements to which I was privileged to be a part. So let me go to the phone and read some of the comments. Worst opposition leader, well, I'm getting, the persons are reacting and they are voicing their frustration as they are entitled to do. I will not stop them once they don't publish racist remarks. Or please, if you are commenting on my page, I don't want any racist remarks, neither I want any obnoxious language being used. Please express yourself without indecency and express yourself without making allegations of racism. If you do that, then I will ban you from my page. I can't go through all the comments, but if I see that, then that would be my reaction. So, I continue. This week, as I promised, after Parliament has gone into recess, I will begin to do some promised follow-up outreaches on the east coast of the Demerara and other parts of the country. You will recall that I was part of the Prime Minister's delegation that visited Buxton, and I was part of the Prime Minister's delegation that visited Melanie. I was also part of the President's delegation that visited Pigeon Island. And follow-up meetings were promised with those residents to address certain land issues. I also made promises to the people of Golden Grove and the people of Bachelor's Adventure to visit those communities and begin to address some land-related issues that they have. I will begin that process during the course of this coming week, beginning from Saturday. So that will take me a few weeks on the east coast of Demerara with a team, and hopefully we are able to begin a process that would bring regularity to land occupation. I note that I have been quoted in the press as saying that I will address the issue of ancestral lands. I said no such thing. I said I will address the issue of land regularization based upon occupation and other legal interests or legal incidents. I don't know anything about an ancestral relationship with land. That's for the historians. I am dealing with law. And I have been embarking on a course right across this country, bringing regularity to persons' occupation of land, and the basis upon which I have been doing so has been occupancy, not ancestry. So I just thought that I will correct that in the public domain because I see it repeated more than once in the press. Unfortunately, I have to revert to Mr. Norton again because he keeps making these statements. So, in his usual bad boy style, he pronounces that there will not be elections and there will be no elections unless he gets some type of list that he wants. Well, first of all, the president answered him very appropriately, and I wish to echo the sentiments expressed by the president. The president said that he will ignore Norton's threat of no elections and that there is no problem with the list. I endorse, well, not endorse, but I echo those sentiments. This guy needs to understand that this country is governed by a constitution and by laws. Election is a legal process. The time frame fixed for elections is fixed by the law, whether it is general elections, regional elections, or local government elections. The list and what list is used is also a matter of law. And elections, the conduct of elections, is entrusted not to politicians, but to an independent constitutional elections commission called GCOM. GCOM must have a list ready at the appropriate time fixed by the law and must have the machinery ready at the appropriate time fixed by the law for elections. What constitutes a proper list is also a matter of law. And GCOM has the responsibility to ensure that such a list is ready when elections are due. We already have rulings from our court that guides us. A ruling from the court that guides us on in relation to the list. There is a clear pronouncement made by the Chief Justice that names cannot be removed from the list on the basis of residency. that once a person is 18 years and is a Guyanese, that person shall be registered or is qualified to be registered. And if that person's name is on that list, that person's name can only be removed if that person dies. That is the law of this country. The very list that Mr. Norton finds so faulty is the very list that they went to the 2011 elections with, and they won a one-seat majority. They went to the 2015 elections with, and they won the government. They went to the 2016 elections with, well, they lost that. They went to the 2018 local government elections, they lost that too. And then they lost the 2020 elections. The list is not the problem, as the president said. Local government election was postponed because GCOM indicated to the minister that the GCOM is not ready. And the minister is required by law to postpone the elections. The minister did not decide to postpone the election at his own whim and fancy. And if you will recall, GCOM did not have a number of important officers at the time in its employment, I believe including a chief elections officer and a deputy. GCOM makes those decisions by itself. It's an independent, autonomous body, not directed by politicians. So Mr. Norton will not determine what type of list is used. The law determines what type of list is used, and GCOM is responsible for the production of that type of list to satisfy the law. And that list must be compiled in accordance with law or must be cleansed in accordance with law. Every step of the electoral process is a statutory one. It's a legal one. And that legal chain must be followed link by link when it comes to elections. So, again, Mr. Norton does not make sense when he makes these public pronouncements. And he does his image no good. He does his constituents no good. He does his party no good when he continues to make these vacuous, uneducated outbursts. And he does it in this threatening way, as if anybody is intimidated by him, or that he can have that impact. So, I thought that I will deal with those pronouncements that have been made repeatedly by Mr. Norton in the public domain. And these are unnecessary tension that he's creating in the country. But that, I suppose, is his nature. But let me interact once again with you to see what is going on. So, there is someone from New York who is asking what assurance we will have to ensure that the new elections are going to be free and fair. Well, we will continue to work every day to ensure that we improve the democratic process of our country. We have two sets of amendments or three sets of amendments to the National Registration Act, the Representation of the People's Act, and some other related amendments dealing with elections. Those will have to go to the Parliament as soon as Parliament resumes and will be debated. Those are all designed to strengthen the electoral machinery. They are designed to ensure that there is greater accountability, there is less discretion being imposed or discretion being invested in electoral officials, and also to put in a wider number or a wider variety of checks and balances to ensure that the system becomes stronger. And of course, we will continue to work to get international observer teams here, and whatever support is needed, GCOM, of course, will lead that charge to ensure that we have free, fair, and transparent elections. So that's how I will answer that question. It was Gary Best it was posted that Gary Best was removed illegally. Well, I don't know where Gary Best was removed from. Sorry, I can't answer that. I don't know that he was removed anywhere. Where was he removed from recently? I'm not sure. So let me see. The acceptance of law, the problem, I don't understand. So, I'm waiting for the questions, but the questions are not coming. Is there any way you can help? No, I don't think so. And the person who asked me the question there is answering and saying that, telling me thanks, etc. So let's continue with the program. So, somebody's asking me there about the handshake. Well, I don't know. What do I say about a person who does not want to shake people's hand? It is such a childish gesture. It is such an immature display that it is absolutely unbecoming of a person who holds the high office of an opposition leader. As I said, I have attended so many engagements between presidents and opposition leaders. And not once have I seen disrespect. I have seen complete respect, magnanimity, reciprocal respect between opposition leaders and presidents. In my personal engagements, I don't think that there was ever a time in this country where an opposition leader refuses to shake a president's hand. And I don't think that any PPP president ever refused to shake the hands of any opposition leader. I can't recall any incident where Dr. Jagan refused to shake the hands of Mr. Fobbs Burnham, and vice versa. So I don't know where this behavior is coming from and what it is intended to achieve. On the one hand, he claims that he wants to work with the government, but then on the other hand, he doesn't even want to extend a hand to shake the president's hand. I don't know how the president is expected to meaningfully consult with another human being who refuses to shake his hands and whose explanation is that he does not shake the hands of his oppressors. It is better that this guy remain silent. He should really not be speaking. It's better he did not shake the president's hand and he did not provide an explanation. At least persons would have given him the benefit of the doubt due to his silence. But he opens his mouth and he says that he will not shake the hands of someone who is oppressing him. Well, tell me, how is the president oppressing Mr. Norton? Of course, he cannot say so. He does not say so. But he will throw in that the president is oppressing his people. And I don't know who his people are. I don't know who his people are. So you have that type of behavior coming from a gentleman who, under our constitutional structure, is in the position, unfortunately, of an alternative president. And this is the type of behavior that he exhibits. I continue to say that this is a misfit, a complete misfit. There is nothing else that one can say to describe this type of behavior. And one would expect that as the days go by or as the weeks go by, that there will be some degree of improvement when one gets accustomed to the high post. Let us assume that he was suffering, as we say colloquially, from disaccustomancy. Well, he has now been there since March the 16th, I think. April, May, June, July, August. It's 5 months. Can he not come to grips with the importance and responsibilities of the office of leader of the opposition? I don't know. But if he if 5 months is not enough for him to acclimatize himself and behave accordingly, according to the office that he holds, then in my humble view, he's not qualified to hold that office. He's not suitable for that office. He doesn't have the temperament to hold that office. And those are my honest views. But the reporter, my operator is signaling to me that we have to wrap up now. So this is where I have to say thank you very much for being with me over the past 55 minutes or an hour. I think that we have had a good exchange. We have had a good discussion, and we have addressed some of the topical issues taking place in the country. Unfortunately, I spent a lot of time dealing with the opposition, but I believe that I ventilated a lot of matters that ought to have been ventilated, and I hope that I have clarified for you many of the issues which in your mind required clarity. Once again, I want to thank you very much for sharing this hour with me, and I want to use this opportunity to invite you once again to join me next week as I continue this discourse, and to wish you all the best for the coming week. Stay happy, stay healthy, and I see you next week. Good night and take care. Thank you.